I think I'm live. Dear all, salute. Good morning. I promised myself a lion today, just wouldn't come because so many things have been kind of running around. I've been following the news cycle and picking up various events that have gone on. And, because we live in such confusing times, it's almost as if you're working out a jigsaw and trying to make all the pieces of the puzzle fit together. It's been confusing, but I think there are glimmers of hope and glimmers of light over there in the horizon. This post is about three things. The first is brainwashing. The second is shallowness. Yeah, I meant shallowness. And the third thing is spirituality. First, the brainwashing part. What strikes me as absolutely extraordinary is how the authorities worldwide have got the buy-in and the trust of huge swathes of humanity completely. If this was football, we would say completely against the run of play. So, uh, in terms of trust, what has happened now has resulted in what seems to have been a man-made disaster because it looks as if COVID started off in a laboratory, has wounded up in the near total destruction of the world economy. Now, everybody talks about this thing called a V-shaped recovery, where the economy first goes down and then comes back up. Well, on the one hand, that V-shaped recovery is happening, but only in the stock markets. Okay, because in the stock markets, things are beginning to boom quite happily. Uh, but that's not the same story as what's happening in the economy, because the economy is not the stock market. In the stock market are the world's top traded shares, and they belong largely to big business. So while big business is slowly bouncing back up, what we're finding is that the ordinary people, self-employed people, small business is absolutely tanking. I quote from Forbes. Forbes has said that we should stand by for the greatest transfer of wealth from ordinary people to the super rich in the history of man. In The Guardian of the 7th of October 2020, they're saying that billionaires' incomes rose to $10 trillion, which is up 25% over the similar period. That spike in billionaire incomes is directly attributable to COVID. Now, CNBC said that there's been a 48% spike in small business bankruptcies, but amongst the big traded shares, the only significant crash has been Hertz. All the others are coming up roses and doing actually quite well. Now, the government has managed that situation, and they expect us to trust them. And we have given them our trust. And the only reason I can think that people are not asking more demanding questions, whether through the media or through other means, is that we've been brainwashed into accepting this state of play. Perfectly ordinary, sensible, intelligent people have been brainwashed into trusting the untrustable. Now, we have seen this is further evidence that we must have been brainwashed or something. we have seen the greatest centralization of state and world power over the course of 1 year, which was basically 2020 as the pandemic rolled out. Now, if this centralization of power was to centralize power to achieve really pressing problems we've got, it would be one thing. Where's been the centralization of power to solve the Israeli-Palestinian problem? Where's been the centralization of power to resolve the world immigration and emigration crisis? Where is the centralization of power to outlaw racism? It's not happening there. The centralization of power is to lock you down, control your behavior, tell you what you can and cannot do, impose a biological agent which we are told is effective and safe onto everybody, which is being rolled. In fact, that is the obsession of the centralization of power. In America, they just had Juneteenth, which is in celebration of the emancipation of slaves in America. Where's the centralization of power to pay Black Americans back for centuries of free labor that nobody paid for, which made America the wealthiest nation on the planet? So if power is being centralized to achieve these things, you can sit back and think, okay, this is a sensible and good application of power. But the centralization of power has been to limit and curb your rights and mine. Now, it's when I consider these things that I say to myself that basically something, it's, do you know in Star Wars, the movie, the Jedis have this thing that they do, which completely flummoxes people and makes them do what the Jedi want to do. It's called the Jedi wave. The guy goes, kind of waves across the person, and all of a sudden it's like they can't think for themselves. They do exactly what the Jedi is commanding. It looks as if humanity has experienced a massive Jedi wave. That's the first thing. It feels to me as if we've been brainwashed. Second thing is, when I observe the way we live, particularly the way in which we use social media, I now see a level of shallowness which is beyond belief. In fact, the more jokes I post, okay, the more the likes I get. The more worthy thinking pieces which address kind of issues, okay, it's only my point of view, but at least it might be food for thought for other people. And by the way, when I'm talking about us being brainwashed, I'm not talking about somebody out there. You and I, we're all in the same, whoever's viewing this, we're all, unless you're a trillionaire, we're all in the same boat, exactly the same boat. And please, kind of another manifestation of shallowness would be, you know what? Don't judge a guy by their accent. You know, I don't speak Xhosa. I don't speak Japanese. I don't speak Lingala. I don't speak Swahili. I speak Ga. I speak Fanti. I understand tree and get around in it, kind of so, and so on. But don't judge a person because of the way they're talking. Judge a person by the content of what they're saying. That would, excuse me to say, be another classical example of shallowness. I mean, if somebody's got, I've got kind of an English accent, okay, and certain English accents are associated with wisdom or education or culture. That is the most shallow thing to think and is the result of brainwashing by somebody that a person who sounds like that is either better or somehow more worthy than somebody else. That is what I'm talking about the Jedi wave. Somebody put over all of us as humanity and has brainwashed us. But let me get back to the idea of shallowness. So, what I've observed on social media is the incredible amount of narcissistic content. Now, again, this isn't just, this is about us as people and the way we engage with each other. And it seems to me that most of it is what psychologists call displacement activity. So let's say, for example, you've got a problem um, and you can't solve that problem. You displace that problem by doing something else, which gives you kind of a quick buzz, a quick ping, a quick bit of satisfaction, and makes you forget your trouble for the moment. So uh, some people get drunk, some people take drugs, some people eat, some people dress up and look absolutely spiffing and so on, and they genuinely do look gorgeous. And they use that to make themselves forget the reality that we've all been brainwashed in a situation which is going to an end game, which at this moment doesn't look particularly good for humanity. And you see, the whole purpose of shallowness is avoidance of reality. That is the worry. Now, the only people that suits is not us. The only people that suits is people in whose hands power is increasingly being centralized. And there will come a tipping point where it will be very difficult to take that power back. Last point is about spirituality. What's that got to do with the price of fish? I'm not talking about religion. To be honest with you, whether whatever your religion is, Shintoism, Hinduism, Tigali, African traditional religions, whatever, your business entirely. It's not for me to pontificate or judge on that. But I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about spirituality, which is supposed to be the result of whatever religious practices that you follow. Your spirituality is supposed to bring you in touch with yourself, not not the little self. The little self is the ego that wants more money. I could do with more ties. Always, I could always do with more bow ties. That's the sort of thing that the little self is concerns itself with. The big self, the real Ted, the real you inside of you is connected to the entire universe. It's that self that feels hurt when he sees another suffering. And I don't know how it works, but when your spirituality grows, you definitely feel a sense of kinship. And it is when you have this real sense of kinship, stop being a racist. Now, a lot of people see me writing about racism a lot of the time. It's because I feel it's kind of part of my life mission to talk about that, precisely because other people do what I was talking about before. They use displacement activities to avoid and deny that racism exists. But if you actually observe what I'm saying, I haven't got time. Do you know what? Life's too short. I have not the time to hate anybody or any group, anybody of any sexual orientation or anything. The only group I will oppose without fail every time, this life and every other lifetime I have, are people who are inhuman, people who are cruel, people who are heartless. That I am anti. But then that particular tendency appears in all ethnic groups of people. So if whatever it is your religious practices, I don't care, it needs to connect you to your soul. When you're connected to your soul, you don't need data to tell when somebody is lying to you. You don't need research to tell you that something that's being presented to you in the manner, the kind, the style, the terms, and the conditions of the offering is slightly off. Your spirituality is what protects you from the Jedi way. And when I look right now, you know, they paid a lot of money for my education. I'm sure they paid a lot of money for your education too. The one thing our education kept now I look back and I think it actively kept us blind to our spirituality. And I went to the place that was founded by John and Charles Wesley. They set up my old school themselves. That's why my parents sent me there, because they were big Christians. So we have a crisis of spirituality. There are so many little things I can mention. Do you know people struggle even with human contact now? Sometimes you have to find out if somebody has time to take a call before you ring them. For goodness sake, you need to ring me, ring me. If I can pick it up, I'll pick it up. If I can't pick it up and I want to speak with you, I'll get your message and call you back ASAP. But this business of doing everything remotely by artificial means like texting and so on and so forth, all of these things, as your spirituality arises, shows you how estranged we have become from our basic fundamental human selves. That basic fundamental human self understands that somebody from the other end of the world, from where I come, say Japan, the real big difference is that he eats with chopsticks and I might eat fufu with my hands, but they eat with chopsticks. Okay. But essentially our humanity is the same. But only if he gets it. Because otherwise he may come across and say, well, I'm the fourth largest economy in the world, and therefore I'm a little bit superior to you. But because I can't own up to being a racist supremacist, I pretend that everything is okay. Lie, you're bloody racist if you have that kind of attitude. Yes, I use the expletive willfully and with intent. So because our spirituality isn't awake, it seems to me, and this again, as I'm saying, this is as much about me as it is about you. We don't know how life itself works. The truth is, this is really bitter. We have given permission for this to happen. For the Jedi wave to work, you have first of all, at some level in your life, to give the permission. And however unconscious it is, if you keep giving that permission, the event will keep repeating itself. And if you resist it, because you've given that permission, it's almost like you're breaking a contract, you know? Like if you don't pay your bill, they will, they will do what the lender, the person who provided the service will do what they need to do to recover their money. Until you rescind that contract with that person, it'll continue happening. And so it is, I find, and again, I'm not going to say this in specific silos and so on, because this idea of, okay, the Europeans are over there, the Asiatics are over there, the people of African origin are over here, and so on and so on. You know what? That's all that was actually part of the game that was being played by those who play us. That's why I'm saying this in the clear. When we remove at the deepest levels of our life, that permission, that person loses the right to do anything to you that you don't want them to do, because the deal, you didn't shake on it. Yeah, the deal has been, if you shook on it once, you have unshaken on it. The deal is off. So the purpose of this post is to get each of us to go beyond the shallow, to access our spirituality, and to tell ourselves, you know what, I refuse to be treated like a sheep, somebody's chattel, or somebody's second-class citizen, and I won't accept their lies. I talk about racism all the time, again, because everybody lies about racism. The moment people say, yeah, it's on, this is what it is, this is the reality, let's get on with it, then we'll know that we're in play. But till then, I'll keep mentioning it, because it's a little bit like somebody constantly trying to reach into your pocket to pick it. I don't agree with that. So that's it. We mustn't allow ourselves to be brainwashed into giving our trust to those who would abuse us. One. Two, we mustn't, in our suffering, resort to the shallowness which is wholeheartedly encouraged on the kind of media you will see this on. And thirdly, let's withdraw all the permissions for anything that doesn't chime with our soul. I guarantee you this, there's nothing they can do, because it's just the way life works. I wish you a really fabulous day, and I hope this makes sense. Please comment on what you're hearing, and tell me if you like the layout of this thing, because I don't know if it works. I'm only producing it, it's what the outer, the person who's looking at it feels like. And if you see this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, please. Have a great day.